sir, at the end here.
So on Ukraine, you said that.
Can you tell me your name and your outlet?
Oskar Gorzyński, Polish press agency.
Okay. Go ahead.
So you said that you're not going to react to a single quote from Russian officials, but over the past few weeks, Russia has made it pretty clear that they're not interested in real negotiations. They killed a U.S. citizen. They struck the Boeing office in Kiev. And the president has repeatedly threatened sanctions on Russia if that happens. So why no action yet? I mean, how does that show peace through strength?
Hey, Patriots. Welcome back to America First. I'm here today to break down this press briefing that's been making rounds. And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack here. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep bringing you the unfiltered truth about what's really happening in our government. Ring that notification bell too, so you don't miss any of our coverage.
Well, this is one of the reasons why we don't have negotiations in the press, debates between people reading things on the news, quotes in newspapers or made in a moment or on a website, that there are much more complex things that are happening. Other conversations, the culmination of multiple other negotiations with Iran is an example in one case, summits and negotiations with Russia and Ukraine, the parties themselves meeting. We've always said that we will not take, essentially for Russia, we're not going to listen to what they say, we're going to watch what they do. That remains true. But what you would do in this moment is not at issue. What matters are the people who've been involved for months now, dealing with the parties directly, the leaders of countries in the world, but the most powerful leader in the world right now, Donald Trump, who would likely know a little bit more about the nature of the situation than you or I, and I think you might have to agree that he may know more. So I think it's important to not second guess the president, and to not speculate, and to not presume that what he's doing is not in the process of peace, but in fact specifically in that track. And I'm wondering for Matt Lee, who's been studious with his phone, if you do have something you'd like to ask or add.
I actually do.
I'm
surprised. My question is about
Matt Lee of the Associated Press, for those of you who don't know him. The two people in the world. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
The 25. Of the 25,000, you said that you couldn't break it down.
That's correct.
How many were Israel, how many were West Bank, and how many were Iran?
That's right.
But is it correct that the only evacuation flight that has happened so far was the one for embassy staff and family members on Wednesday?
I will not characterize that or agree with you or not. I won't give you an answer to that. Sorry. It's one of those things we can't hear. In the days prior to this conflict, I might go back and forth with you, but I can't answer that.
Okay, well, because there was a comment from the embassy spokesperson about that. So are you aware of when these people call, I assume they're calling the number that
Yes, they are. I've called that number. I don't know if many of you have. You called that number? You can call that number and you'll get someone from the State Department.
You don't go on to permanent hold?
No, they're busier now. After the briefing Tuesday, they're
sure.
busier.
So,
but be persistent and do the form online. That's always a good idea.
So the 25,000 people who have reached out,
Yes.
have reached out via that platform, either online or calling.
Correct.
And they, do you know how many of those 25,000 have then taken the information that they've been given or the guidance that they've been given,
No.
and then left?
There's data that I won't be sharing, and even
you
in
even have that
general,
data.
it's not data that I can share with you. The fact that we got the number from the team, I felt really excited about. Now you're making me feel like it's not so good.
No,
it is. It's a
that
great
was
number,
what I was
but I
doing.
will not break it down.
Okay.
I will not go into descriptions that highlight a situation or an environment within this region of conflict. I don't think it's wise.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, yes, sir. Back.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's dive into this briefing. What we're seeing here is a perfect example of how the deep state bureaucracy operates versus how President Trump approaches foreign policy. The reporter from a Polish press agency is asking legitimate questions about why we haven't taken stronger action against Russia after they killed an American citizen and struck civilian targets in Kyiv. These are serious provocations that demand a serious response. But here's what I find encouraging in this briefing. The spokesperson is defending President Trump's approach, and frankly, they're absolutely right. The media wants instant reactions, immediate responses, public declarations of every move we're going to make. That's not how you conduct effective foreign policy. That's how you telegraph your moves to your enemies. President Trump understands something that the establishment politicians never grasped during their decades of failed foreign policy. You don't negotiate through press conferences. You don't show your hand to reporters. You work behind the scenes, you apply pressure where it counts, and you keep your enemies guessing. This is exactly the kind of strategic thinking that made Trump so effective in his first term. The spokesperson makes a crucial point when they say we judge Russia by their actions, not their words. This is pure Trump doctrine right here. For too long, American foreign policy was based on hoping our adversaries would keep their promises, trusting in diplomatic niceties while they laughed at us behind closed doors. Russia has been playing games with American administrations for decades, but Trump sees right through their tactics. What really stands out to me is how the spokesperson refuses to second-guess the president. This is what loyalty looks like. Patriots! This is what having the president's back means. Compare this to the constant leaking and backstabbing we saw during previous administrations. When you have a team that trusts their leader and doesn't undermine him to score points with the media, that's when you can actually accomplish something on the world stage. Now, let's talk about these evacuation numbers. 25,000 Americans reaching out for help is a massive number. This shows you the scale of what's happening in these conflict zones and why we need strong leadership. The fact that this administration is actively processing these requests and helping Americans get to safety is exactly what government should be doing. America first means Americans come first, and that includes Americans who find themselves in dangerous situations abroad. I appreciate that the spokesperson won't break down these numbers by region. That's operational security. Folks, when you're running evacuation operations in active conflict zones, you don't broadcast your methods, your numbers, or your locations to the press. That information gets back to bad actors who can use it to target our people or disrupt our operations. This is basic common sense that seems to escape a lot of people in Washington. The media keeps pushing for details, want to know exactly how many evacuations have happened, where they happened, and when they happened. But think about this logically. If you're trying to get Americans out of dangerous areas, the last thing you want is to give hostile forces a roadmap of your operations. The Trump administration is protecting operational security while still being transparent about the overall scope of their efforts. What we're seeing here is the difference between governing and campaigning. The press wants sound bites and dramatic announcements. They want to create controversy and division. But serious foreign policy requires discipline, patience, and strategic thinking. President Trump has surrounded himself with people who understand this, people who won't cave to media pressure when American lives are on the line. This briefing also shows us why the mainstream media can't be trusted to report on foreign policy accurately. They're more interested in gotcha questions and creating political drama than they are in understanding the complex realities of international relations. The Polish reporter's questions were legitimate, but the framing assumes that public statements and immediate visible action are the only ways to respond to international provocations. President Trump knows better. He knows that sometimes the most effective response happens behind closed doors. Sometimes economic pressure works better than military action. Sometimes the threat of consequences is more powerful than the consequences themselves. This is a kind of sophisticated approach to foreign policy that put America first during Trump's previous term and secured historic peace agreements that nobody thought were possible. The fact that this spokesperson can confidently defer to President Trump's judgment tells you everything you need to know about the confidence level within this administration. They know they have a leader who has proven himself on the world stage. They know they have someone who can stare down dictators and negotiate from a position of strength. Patriots, this is what competent governance looks like. This is what it means to have adults in charge who understand that protecting American interests sometimes requires keeping your cards close to your chest. The era of weak foreign policy is over. The era of America apologizing for its strength is over. We have a president who puts America first, and we have a team that supports that mission without wavering. That's why it's so important that we support this administration and push back against the media narratives that try to undermine American strength. When you see briefings like this, when you see our officials standing firm and refusing to be bullied by hostile reporters, that's when you know we're on the right track. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family who need to understand what's really happening in our government. Hit that like button if you appreciate this kind of honest analysis, and subscribe to America First for more content that puts our country and our people first. We'll keep bringing you the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. Stay strong, patriots. America is back.